to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into pay dirt in a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Cody Felger here from the Indianapolis Star, joining me, very special guest, Mr. Jim Aiello himself. Jim, it's been a crazy couple of weeks with training camp, man. How have you been? How have you been enjoying it, man? It's probably nice to be back there after a year of nobody really being able to be there. How's it been for you?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome to get back to a little bit of normal life with training camp, but it's been hectic. I mean, I think as Colts fans know, it started off with, Chris Ballard telling us that Frank Reich had COVID and would be away from the team, and then been one injury after another. I mean, again, Colts fans don't really need to tell you, but it's Carson Wentz, it's Ryan Kelly, it's Quentin Nelson. There's been, Darius Leonard still hasn't practiced yet, so plenty of news, plenty of things going on, which I guess in this part of the year you don't really want that, but as somebody in my position, I guess it's not the worst thing. To have things to write about. And, I'm sitting in Canton, Ohio, waiting for the Hall of Fame inductions for Edgerrin James and Peyton Manning. So, yeah, lots going on in Colts world right now.
Absolutely, man. And you mentioned it, Carson Wentz going out with that injury, and we don't really know the official timetable. I mean, the Colts kind of gave one, but it's very broad, 5 to 12 weeks. So in the meantime, Jacob Eason's been taking really all the run at quarterback number one with the Colts starting offense. But, the Colts offense has been kind of hot and cold, I feel like, from what we've seen and what the media has reported. But I think that kind of poses the question, Jim, and the topic of today's conversation. Okay, what's wrong with the Colts offense, quote unquote? Is it, days of struggling? Is it just figuring out some of the kinks? What is it? Is it the Colts defense maybe having their way with them a little bit? Or is it a combination of both? Is it kind of in the middle? So I guess we can start with Jacob Eason. He's had some really, really good days, Jim. He's had some days that maybe aren't as great for what you want to see. But what have you seen from Jacob Eason in the couple weeks you've seen him be the starting quarterback?
Yeah, so let me lay out the foundation here on Jacob Eason. This is effectively a rookie training camp for him. I know that's not right because he was drafted in 2020 and he had last year's shortened training camp, but the guy barely got any snaps. They were trying to get Phillip Rivers, acclimated with the offense. Jacoby Brissett was the backup, so he didn't get a lot of work. He's already gotten, I think, almost triple the work in terms of throws and team drills this year than he did last year. And that's that was a couple weeks of camp that he had, and we're not even through 2 weeks right now. So that tells you how little work he got in. During practice last year, he barely played. Again, he was the third-string quarterback. Jacoby ran the scout team. So, almost all of his work he got in was mental reps and some stuff on the field after practice or even before games or things like that. So, again, you're talking about a guy the Colts were very clear. They said, we don't know about Jacob Eason. When we asked Chris Ballard in the offseason, said, can this guy even be the backup for your team? He said, I don't know. We need to see more. So what we're seeing is essentially a rookie. He had the redshirt year this year. He's kind of going through a rookie year now. There are going to be a lot of bumps. I think that's the thing people need to understand, and I want to reiterate, is if he came out guns blazing and ripping apart this defense, which is filled with veterans and really good players up and down, that would have been the more surprising thing than what we've seen so far, which is him struggling. He's a fourth-round quarterback. He's going to struggle. Some of the things that he didn't do well in college we're seeing right now. You look at him, he's a first-round body type. He's got a first-round arm, rocket for a right arm. The reason he went in the fourth round is because he isn't a great processor, because he isn't the most accurate quarterback. Those are things that can get better in the NFL, and he's working on them, but they're not going to be all of a sudden fixed in 2 weeks. So he has been slow to process. He has been a little bit inaccurate, even on his completions. He's not leading guys upfield as much as you'd like to see. He's not protecting his receivers when they're going over the middle. These are the things that he needs to work on, things he can get better at. But we're 2 weeks into this so far. He needs to be given time to see if he can develop into that backup quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to for sure, but he needs more time, and there are going to be bumps in the road. So like you said, he's had his good moments. I think he's had more bad moments so far, but again, I think that's to be expected, especially going up, and this is the other part of your question, against a really good defense. This is a Colts defense that was already really good last year and added some significant pieces. The edge rushers, the young guys, look really good right now. We know about the middle of the defense, how good they can be. So again, I think if you looked at the way this is breaking down in camp so far, offense versus defense, with effectively a rookie quarterback leading the way, this is what you'd expect.
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. And also he has three of his, quote unquote starters out on the offensive line. If you throw in Eric Fisher with that, with Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly going out. So it's kind of like not really that surprising. Like you said, it shouldn't be that surprising to people. And I'm not really shocked by that. And one thing that you mentioned about the, being a slower processor, and they've said as much, right, compared to even Sam Ehlinger. I don't think that should come as a shock either, because Jacob Eason really didn't see that much time in college either. He's still very fresh and very young into his football career.
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is a guy, I think the colleague of mine said this is like the first season he's had in 4 years. Or he's had one season in 4 years because of the injury he had, the transfer year, and then the fact that he didn't play last year. I mean, he really hasn't seen like high-speed defense in a while. And he's never seen first-team defense. I mean, he's going up against the first-team Colts defense. This is the first time he's seen first-team defenders in the NFL in his career. So, again, like you said, the processing was something that was always going to be an issue. If you look at him and you look at the arm that he has, and if he was a great processor, this is the guy that would have gone in the first round. That's just the way it is. He was going to have warts, and the Colts drafted him because, hey, he's got all these tools. Can we smooth out some of the warts? Can we turn him into a better quarterback? And again, most of the time when you draft a quarterback in the fourth round, your hope isn't that he becomes a starter. Your hope is that he becomes a reliable backup. That's what a fourth-round quarterback generally becomes. The Dak Prescotts of the world are very, very, very rare. So, I mean, that's what the Colts are hoping he would be. And they thought they were going to have time. They thought, hey, we have Carson Wentz here. Here's the starter. We're going to give Jacob Eason a lot of work in training camp and during the preseason. And if he proves himself, he can be our backup. If not, we might have to go get a veteran that we feel better about. Now, with the Carson Wentz timeline being so, big, so wide, 5 to 12 weeks, hey, if he misses half the season, is Jacob Eason ready to lead this team to wins in the regular season? Well, that's speeding up the timeline in the process. I think the Colts weren't hoping for that. They wanted to be able to give him time without as much pressure, saying, let's develop you into a backup quarterback, not the guy that might have to lead us into week 1, week 2, week 3. So it's a little bit different right now. It does call into question whether or not maybe they should have brought in another veteran just in case Jacob Eason didn't develop in the way that they'd hoped. But again, we're still early in this. This is still a couple weeks into the process of Jacob Eason's development. Got to give him time. Got to see what he does against Carolina.
Yeah, I think that'll be a bigger test for me this next week when they do have Carolina and they play him in the preseason. Okay, maybe not as good of a defense as he's seen with the Colts defense. Does that mean he's looking a lot better, against maybe this Carolina defense? And I'm really intrigued to see that. But I think another thing that, going back to the offensive line, it seems like Sam Tevi and Will Holden, the left tackles there, have kind of been struggling a little bit. So it seems like there's always been consistent pressure in his face. And we know, Jim, how much he struggled even in college when he was facing the pressure. What have you seen from him in that department?
Yeah, that's exactly what you're seeing. I mean, again, Kwity Paye has looked really, really good. Ben Bandigou's looked really, really good. Kamoko Touré's looked really, really good. And again, it could be the quality of tackle they're going up against. Sam Tevi and Will Holden aren't NFL starters. That's just the way it is. And they're not. They haven't been very good in camp. And some of the guys that you'd expect to win on the defensive end are winning. So he's getting pressure off the edges. DeForest Buckner, I mean, we mentioned Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly being out. So DeForest Buckner is going to get pressure up the middle. That's going to happen. Grover Stewart is going to get pressure up the middle. I know people don't think of him as a great pass rusher. He's had some good moments of pass rushing. There have been some of the other guys. Antoine Woods has had some good moments of pass rushing up the middle. So, as you mentioned, Jacob Eason's been under duress for quite a while. And no, he doesn't. Again, he's not the most mobile quarterback. I've seen him take off and scramble a couple times, or scramble upfield for yards, or at least try to buy himself some time. But he doesn't throw that well on the run. He's not that he's not the most accurate pocket passer. So on the run, not his strength. And so, yeah, he doesn't handle the pressure that well. What you're hoping was that he'd have a great offensive line in front of him that would give him time to make, again, if he's a beat slow on his decision-making, that's okay, because they've got this great offensive line that will give him a little extra time. That's not what he has right now. So, again, there's a lot of things working against Jacob Eason, and you feel bad for him because you'd like to give him the perfect situation to grow in, and right now he doesn't have it. So, that's going to be tough. But Carolina will be a good test. They're interesting defense. I don't think they're good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're bad. But Carolina will give an interesting test. And Frank Reich has been clear. Like, he's going to play a lot during the preseason. So he's going to have every opportunity to prove either he's ready or he's not.
Mm-hmm. I guess maybe some encouraging things is it seems like there's been progress with Jacob Eason, right? Marcus Brady has said as much. He feels like he's getting a little bit better in his progressions. And it seems like, there may be days where it's a little bit rough, but it seems like, Jim, that it's trending in the right direction for Jacob Eason, according to the Indianapolis Colts coaches and the coordinators and people like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll caution against. I don't think they're going to say he's taking steps backward either. If that were true,
right.
or if he's stagnant in his progress, I don't think they would say that either. Honestly, I think they're going to be positive. They're going to try to give him as much positive reinforcement and encouragement as they can. So I'm not saying that isn't true. I just would warn against reading too much into what the coaches are saying. I think he has gotten a little bit better at progressing from first read or the second read to a check down. I saw a touchdown pass he threw the other day where he looked one way, didn't see it, looked back over the middle, and threw a nice crossing route. I think it was to Zach Pascal. So he has, again, it's not like it's all been bad moments. He has had some very good moments where he's understanding the defense. The thing they're trying to get him to do, and the thing they're working on most with him, and this is happening mostly after practice when they're going through film, is pre-snap recognition. What is he seeing from the defense before when he walks up to the line of scrimmage? What is he seeing? And so those are the things that he has to get better at. They're going to help him. They have some great coaches to help him do that. Frank Reich, again, has worked with some of the masters in terms of pre-snap recognition in Peyton Manning and Phillip Rivers. I would call them two of the top, 3 or 4 greatest in the last 20 years at just being able to identify what a defense wants to do at the line of scrimmage. So they know how to teach these kind of things. And Jacob Eason is a willing learner. I mean, that's the one thing that we did find out about him last year was that he is willing to stay after practice. He is willing to ask questions. Or he's willing to shut his mouth and listen when 2 veteran, smart quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett, are talking, and he can take his notes and listen and then ask questions to Marcus Brady later. I mean, he is a guy that wants to be a good quarterback. That's a huge step. He's willing to put in the work. I know that seems like it should be a given. It's not in the NFL. Not all guys are willing to put in that time and effort. Jacob Eason seems like the kind of guy who is.
Which is definitely great to see. I mean, I know obviously they were kind of, whatever. There's a lot of weird pre-draft stuff, but I think that was maybe potentially a knock against Eason was like, does he have the passion? Does he have the drive? Does he love the game? Things like that. Obviously, that's not a concern for Indianapolis. Doesn't appear to be, which is definitely great news. But we talked about the defense just a little bit. I wanted to kind of segue back into that. How much credit do you give this Indianapolis Colts defense for doing what they've done so far in camp? In your opinion, how good has this team looked on defense so far?
Well, if I was judging the Colts defense based on training camp, I'd say they have a chance to be like a top 3 defense in the NFL this year. I mean, they have looked that good. But even Matt Eberflus has said, we haven't had pads on very much. The offensive line is much better with pads. And, they have a chance to engage a little quicker. They're a little more confident in what they're doing. And so that has been the reason they won so often early in campus because there were no pads. Now we have pads on. The defense is still playing very well. But again, I hate to stress the same thing. They're going up against the backup quarterback, a 6th-round rookie quarterback. A lot of it was Jalen Morton, who has now been cut, but it was an undrafted free agent, and Brett Hundley. So the quarterback competition they're facing isn't great right now. I would wager to say that almost every quarterback situation they're going to face during the regular season is better than what they're seeing right now. The other thing I would say is we talked about again, the offensive line is very banged up. They're not facing starting offensive linemen, so it's really hard to get a read on how good